Come on in, sit back and relax. You're listening to the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guest for this episode was Felix Rivera from the Ezra Group. And Felix and I spoke about implementations. We have a lot of something we do a lot at Ezra Group, and we thought that a podcast just on implementations, a series of podcasts, would be really helpful for clients. So we talked about implementing new technology platforms, how to prep for those, what you should watch out for, how to avoid vendor misrepresentations, God forbid they do that, and the importance of prioritizing integration and data flow between your systems. And speaking of data flow between your systems, how many systems do you have in your tech stack? More than 20? More than 50? However many you have, you need a strategy for managing them, integrating them, and delivering a world-class experience for both your advisors and your clients. Ezra Group can help turn your tech stack chaos into a competitive advantage. Our 60-day tech stack reboot is designed specifically for RIAs looking to take the first step in gaining control over your tech infrastructure without breaking the bank to do so. If you want to free your firm for exponential growth, you need to run, not walk, to our website, EzraGroup.com, and click the golden Contact Us button on the homepage. Whether you're struggling to scale your business or wondering why advisor adoption of your core applications is so low, the experienced team at Ezra Group can help you design, optimize, and future-proof your infrastructure. We know what works and what doesn't. Okay, my standard housekeeping chores, please subscribe, yada, yada, yada. Check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And if you are a software vendor in the wealth management space, you should register your product at ezragroup.com/register and then update your integration data and information. That way your Ezra Group Wealth Tech Integration Score, which is available also on our website, will always be up to date. And now, let's kick this thing off. All right, excited to introduce my guest for this episode. It is Felix Rivera, industry expert and senior consultant for Ezra Group. Felix, good to talk to you, man.
Oh, good to finally be on the podcast, Craig.
Finally, you're finally on the podcast after how many years? Got you in here.
Well, it's taken me a decade, but you know what? Persistency pays off.
That's right. If you really focus on what you want, eventually you will get it. It will come to you. You want to be on the podcast? We got you here. But we're going to talk today about implementations, something we do a lot at Ezra Group. We've been doing this for 20 plus years. Implementations is a huge part of our work with wealth management firms. But before we do that, can you just give a 30-second overview of your history and your career in the industry?
Sure. I'm an industry veteran, 37 years, all in wealth management. Out of Smith Barney initially, ran operations and technology strategy for Smith Barney on their managed fee-based business, then went off into the independent space early on in early 2000, started a consultancy primarily focused on helping the breakaway run brokers initially, and then started to migrate into the regionals, some of the larger BDs, and eventually ended up joining the Ezra Group and primarily focused on large-scale implementations, put together teams to assist some of the larger vendors in helping them onboard some of the large clients that they land. And as it relates to the Ezra Group, we also have clients that come to us to help ask us that they feel that they don't have the SME talent to help them implement after they make a vendor decision or to help them make that vendor decision.
And that is the power of consultants. We come in and help as needed, then we go away when we're done.
There you go.
So looking at statistics and some surveys around this space, most wealth managers are overdue for modernization. A survey by Avaloq found 44% of wealth managers describe their systems as outdated. 31% say their systems are not suited to their needs. So this is what we're seeing. We see this as well, which is why a lot of firms are changing their platforms. So when do you think is the best time, if we're talking to wealth management firms, giving them some best practices, when is the best time to bring in a firm like Ezra Group to help with a new platform implementation?
Well, once you have that realization and you make that commitment that change is needed and you have to absolutely go into the marketplace, and explore what's out there to address whatever your pain points are, then I think that's the appropriate time to kind of come to the Ezra Group. For one, we have an in-depth understanding of all the various point solutions out there, as well as the platforms that are available and what their real capabilities are. And by real, I mean vendors in the sales process have a tendency to kind of tell you what you want to hear. And what we can do is we can actually tell you what they can actually do and how that aligns with what we see are your particular pain points. So that's where I think the real value add is as it relates to the Azure Group, and the value add that we bring to the table. Now, the other thing that we do in the if you engage us early is we get to understand your business and we sit with you. And one of the things we really focus in on is we don't try to put you in a box. We don't say all IAs are the same. We don't say all BDs are the same. We kind of go in with an open book kind of approach and say, look, let's just take a look as if we don't know anything about your business. Tell us about it. And we kind of go in and let you tell us specifically what the nuances are, what the differences are, what's important to you and your culture at your specific firm. And then we take that back and then we start to look at what the real pain points are and what the potential solutions are. Then if you engage us for an RFP, we go on to the marketplace and we cobble together potential vendors that we think will meet your needs. Then we go through an RFP process and we go through that lock and step, like a 3-phase approach. And we don't just look at the technology, which is, I think, something that differentiates us. We also try to look at it from, besides a technical fit, a cultural fit, because we think that's important as well. And that gets lost, in a lot of the RFPs that I see out there today.
Yeah, I agree. But one thing you mentioned that I think is important is that is vendors will put prospective clients in different boxes based on very little information because it's easier for them in their sales process, but it's not necessarily the best way to select a vendor.
That is correct. And this is why it becomes contentious during the implementation process. And most prospects or later clients feel that that this in the sales process, it was misrepresented what the vendor could do. And it's not the case.
No. Vendors misrepresenting themselves, salespeople? No, come on, tell me it's no.
The real issue is that the vendor looks at your business, and on the surface, they basically take a macro look at your business, and they say, okay, you have X amount of clients, Y amount, you do use these types of programs, and you need these types of capabilities, and that's it. That's all they need, and they're already putting together a proposal for you. And they're telling you that they can do it, A, B, C, and D. But meanwhile, they don't take a look to say, okay, we cater to accountants only. We cater to financial planners only. We cater to, we're very tax sensitive, or we cater more to a rep as PM advisor, and we need really extensive trading capabilities. Or we have a very niche business, and we have a lot of advisors that like to leverage. And we need very specific trading capabilities that most platforms might not offer. But our audience of advisors, the folks we recruit, a lot of them like to hedge, and that's something that's unusual for advisors with discretion in a rep as PM advisor model, let's say. And the vendor is too busy trying to sell capabilities and land the business, and they'll just say, we do options, yeah, but like there's some of these platforms that do options, but they do very basic options. They just do basic covered calls, and they're not doing them on a block basis in most cases. And these folks that are in rep as PM type models want to have the capabilities like you have, like in the wires, for instance, where you can run on a block basis a model and actually take a large position within that model and write a covered call against it in one transaction. And those capabilities only a handful of actual vendors out there in the marketplace today can support on the independent side. But meanwhile, they hear options, and meanwhile they're saying, well, we can do options, but to the level and the extent of the sophistication of those options is what they won't kind of relay back to you. And that's what will come out in the discovery process after you've signed.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is that we do this so many times per year. So if you're a wealth management firm, you've probably been in the business for decades as well, but you don't evaluate vendors at the rate and pace that we do. So it's like talking to an individual investor and saying, well, I can look at a stock like just like you can, Mr. Advisor. Well, the advisors that's what all he does for a living is maybe look at the market and understand, wealth planning. And sure, an individual investor could do that. The same thing here. Any tech person at a wealth management firm could look at other vendors, but they don't have the experience, depth, and breadth of working with vendors, going through these processes, knowing where the bodies are buried, where the landmines are, how to avoid all the problems that are going to cause you headaches down the road.
Exactly. And then how that helps you out, besides understanding the decision you're making, what your trade-offs are, it also helps you out because at the point that you make a actual vendor decision, you know exactly what you're buying. So to me, that's invaluable to you because one of the biggest frustration points that I see is, and this is also from the vendor community as well, which is everyone, you sign a large client, sign a large deal, and at the end of it, you go through this painful implementation. Sometimes, in some cases, vendors always start with 6 to 9 months. 8 out of 10 times for larger implementations, it's 12 months to 18 months, or anywhere between 9 and 18 months. And then after that long process, no one's happy at the finish line. The vendor has friction, the client is not unhappy, and yet you're starting out here with potentially a 3 to 5 year to 7 year deal that you're locked into, and it's just starting off on the wrong foot. So one of the ways that we have added a lot of value in that particular scenario has been that we act as your liaison as the client, but we also act as that intermediary between you and the vendor. And that allows you to alleviate a lot of that friction. Because what we can do is we can sit there in the middle and go back to the vendor and outline to them specifically how we need to customize their technology to meet your needs, but do it from a business perspective in a technical way that says, hey, we know that that's what the technology can do, but this is what this specific client needs it to do, and here's why. And we know that you have limitation A, B, and C, but working around A, B, and C, here's what we want you to do in order to make it work based on what we know of your technology. And then on the other hand, on the other side of the fence, we can go to the client and say, granted, this is what you want, and this is what the technology can do, but here's an alternative way to still get to your outcome, but it might not be as elegant as how you were thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And here's another way we can get there.
Let me throw out another stat. Price Waterhouse did a survey of asset and wealth managers last year and found 80% say disruptive technology is fueling revenue growth, yet 68% still allocate less than 1/6 of CapEx to innovative, transformative tech. Implying that many are only now leaning into serious platform change. So we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing a lot more firms looking at platform changes. And as you mentioned, these are marriages. You're getting in bed with a vendor at least 5 to 7 years, and probably longer, because you don't always, everyone doesn't just shift after a contract is up. You often resign because you're too busy. Even if it isn't a good fit, it's tough to change. The inertia and the cost of change is something that firms don't realize. So jumping into bed with a vendor because, well, they're available now, we need something, let's just get it done, isn't the right way to do it, right? So the best time to call us is before you decide you need a new platform. But the second best time is after you've decided you need a new platform, but before you start the vendor evaluation process.
That's correct. Because we've had a lot of instances where the firms have gone in and signed the deal based on what they saw. And then they ask us, because they start to run into some of that friction up early on. And then they call us for help. And that's a little late in the process. And don't get me wrong, we'll help you through and we'll get you through it.
We will still help you. Don't get us wrong. We will always help you. Whenever you call us.
We will still get you through it.
It's going to be a lot harder.
And it's going to be a lot harder. But obviously, in an ideal scenario, the sooner you reach out to us, and I think the more value we can add in the sense that we can really help you understand the landscape in a way that really addresses your pain points. Because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is really enhance your platform. So in most cases so that your firm has a competitive advantage and you can go out and recruit. And at the end of the day, the game really is about recruiting. And recruits, the first and foremost, besides the obvious, the next thing they look at are your capabilities and what they have today. Because that, if you don't have something comparable to what they have today, even if you're throwing whatever you're throwing at them, it doesn't matter because it's too painful for them to make the jump. And they stand to lose too much and they don't want to regress in any way. So obviously, you need to have something comparable to where the marketplace is. And in a lot of cases, to some of the stats Craig's giving here, a lot of folks are having to upgrade and enhance, even though it's not in their culture, but basically the market's pushing you to do it. So you need capabilities today that, 5 and 10 years ago weren't necessary. But today, like for instance, basic table stakes are, if you're not offering a UMA in this environment, you're way behind the 8 ball. You need to offer a rep as manager. You need obviously to offer an SMA. You obviously need to offer a wide range of trading capabilities, a broad array of programs, different account types that you can support. And obviously all the various custodians out there can support all the different registration types. So that's not as important anymore. But obviously you need to also support a wide range of services that you offer, including, lending and financial planning. That you also need to have some to support a wide array of CRMs because advisors come to you and they're used to a certain CRM. Does your platform support that CRM? Or what's it look like to transition from their existing CRM information to your CRM? So, there's a lot of considerations for the recruits. And obviously, when they're looking at the process, besides the obvious financial benefits to going to your firm and how much they can grow their business, the next is what are the capabilities like? And if those capabilities are strong, obviously it makes your offering a lot more attractive.
And that's something we can help with is be able to do that evaluation and help you find where the most benefit is rather than saying we just need everything. Well, you don't need everything. You need certain things. You've got certain benefits and capabilities in your current infrastructure. And how can we enhance those? Sometimes you don't need an entirely new platform. You just might need a point solution or two. You might need better integration. Most of these vendors, 80% of what they offer is the same, right? There's not a lot of differentiation in the core capabilities of a managed account portfolio management platform. And, obviously we get paid more to implement a new platform for you, but I'm just as happy to work with the firm and say, what you have is good. Let's keep it. Let's not change. Let's just change the way it's configured, the way it's customized, the way you're trained, the way you're integrated. And that could give you a whole new outlook on that platform.
Yeah. I think also one of the things that's easily lost is I'm a firm believer that a lot of these platforms that are out there, they're implemented and they're not utilized to the full range of capabilities that they offer. And it's because the training and the adoption is limited. It's limited to basic core capabilities that the platforms offer. And if the adoption and the training early on was done more rigorously, where adoption was made a focal point, then those capabilities would definitely have enhanced the experience for the advisors, and thus, the experience would have been a lot better, and that would trickle to the bottom line because you're going to have better production, better services. But the problem is that a lot of the capabilities are just to the core basics of what the platform can offer. Because in the training process, all that's emphasized are the basics. And if there was more of a focus on adoption and adoption of the full range of capabilities, and that was really kind of emphasized more, I think A, would enhance productivity, and B, it would actually really showcase the capabilities of some of these vendors. Because I really believe some of the capabilities are severely underutilized in the field, in the marketplace today.
Well, let's not get to adoption. Yeah, that's our next podcast, or
Okay.
two or three down the road. This is going to be a series of podcasts on implementations.
Okay.
So much to talk about. Of course, adoption and advisor training is a critical part, and even firms that have a perfect implementation process if their training and adoption isn't thought of a formal process, no one's using it and you're wasting your money still. But if we can roll it back a bit, so we've got a company, wealth management firm, they've made the decision, they've started their vendor process, they're going to pick a vendor. What are some of the things that they need to look at, best practices, when even before you start your RFP process, that they should be doing to make sure they get the right list of vendors rather than just any ones they know that they pick the top three in the space, which may not be the ones that are best for them.
Yeah, well, most clients that come to us, what they typically do is obviously, 3 degrees of separation in the industry. Everyone knows someone who's using
Or
something,
where
and
then maybe there was somewhere
where
else
they,
just moved, and
yeah,
now, oh, when I was back at my other firm, we had this
that's right.
product. And
I'm
well,
calling
let's go
so
with
and
that.
so, and they're using and they're happy. So this is how the vendors, 9 out of 10 times, this is how they hear of the different vendors that they're considering, and this is how they come into the list of vendors that they think they should be at least looking at. And 8 out of 10 times, obviously, these are not the right vendors for a host of reasons. A lot of the solutions they come up with are either very small new technology that might not be able to support their business because of size and a lot of other limitations. So what I would suggest to them is always first, create a profile of your firm. Let's put down your business metrics, and then let's look at core functionality that you need. Like at the core, here's in my profile. Here's what I need across like trading, across program types that I need, across services that I need, and capabilities that I need. And then if you can put together that kind of profile, then once we come in and we look at that profile, and then we kind of do a quick discovery of your business and what makes it unique, what's different, what you perceive to be your competitive advantage, then we can kind of parlay the two of them together and then go back into the marketplace and kind of come back to you and put together and cobble together a solutions list for you of either point solutions or platform solutions, or cobble a solution that's comprised of the two, meaning it's a platform that also integrates well with point solutions that we think would be a good fit for you. And then we begin that process to kind of walk them through and kind of show them to you, just to make sure that you're comfortable with. And also, we tend to strongly emphasize the experience, because in today's game, a lot of it is about the client experience and the advisor experience. So we want to make sure that the experience is comparable or similar to the type of experience that your particular firm, your particular culture wants to have for your clients and for your advisors. So we go through that process with you.
We certainly do. And having that experience with many, many different vendors, many, many different wealth management firms, and many, many different vendors, we understand where the best practices are when it comes to putting together different point solutions, with the strengths and weaknesses of different platforms, and which ones are going to be best for you. We can eliminate them right away or point you in the right direction. But before we hit the third part of this particular conversation, let me throw some more stats out. Orion's 2025 Wealth Tech Survey, which is mostly in the RIA side, the average reported tech stack utilization is only around 60%. That sounds really high to me. The average integration level, 55%. Not sure what that number means, but when asked for their biggest tech pain points, 25%, full a quarter of respondents say disconnected solutions is their top issue. So that's something we also can help with when we're looking at vendors, understanding how integration plays in and what the prioritization of that is when you're making your vendor selection.
I definitely,
I knew you would agree with that.
definitely agree with that. I mean, it's at the end of the day, some of these experiences are just not good, and then the last thing you want is where you get like 2/3 of the experience is pretty solid, but a third of it is you have to go somewhere else to collect the information, and it's just not a cohesive experience for the advisor. And obviously, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create the most cohesive experience for the advisor, where the advisor goes to one place and everything is there that they need there. When that client's on the phone, you want the advisor to be able to respond as he or she is speaking with the client, on any specific point, and the information that they need is easily at their disposal. And getting that experience is obviously a challenge, in particular in the independent space when we have multiple solutions working together. So obviously integration is a big point of that, it's a big emphasis for us. And understanding who integrates well with who is one of the key selling points for the Ezra Group in particular. And Craig has this integration score and the vendor integration score, and more vendors are coming on and getting into that. And I think it's value add, that it's a service, it's a separate service, but it really does tell you a lot about how well they really do integrate. Because a lot of them claim that they integrate with, if you see a vendor and the vendor in the sales process says, oh, here's everybody who we integrate with. Okay, but to what level do you integrate with? Is it just that I can go in and I can, click and just link into it? Or is it that the data flows right in, and it's, as I'm looking at the account, the data is flowing into your particular point solution, and it's all seamless to me? And very few can get to the last one, by the way.
Well, that's why we built the Wealth Tech Integration Score research. It's only 3 years now that we started it, because after, 17 years of consulting and being frustrated with lack of visibility and lack of transparency of vendors integrations, where they just maybe throw a couple logos on their website, but without any understanding of what does this mean, right? So now we've got our deep integration, which is free. Anybody can go to our website, ezragroup.com, and go to the Wealth Tech Integration Scores and see every vendor in our space, everyone on the Ezra Group Keatsis map, which you can get at keatsis.com. There's 575 applications on that map. And then we're adding more enterprise applications as well. So we've got over 600, like 630 applications that we have scored and evaluated free for you. So you can just check it out. A lot of wealth management firms are going to our website when they're in the process of evaluating, in order to check out, well, we're looking at this vendor, what's their score, right?
Yeah, no, it's totally, I thought it was brilliant when you guys first came up with it, because it was definitely something that the marketplace needed. And it's a data point that obviously it puts the vendors, it sheds a light, and it makes it more of an emphasis for the vendors to focus on it. And now it's something that a lot of the vendors are focusing in on it. So if you look at some of the, like, really what I consider tight integrations out there, some of the larger vendors are now making a concerted effort to really open up and do more and more integrations with a lot of the point solutions that they feel really add more value to their services without them having to go out and acquire, that particular service provider.
Right. So, okay, we got a couple minutes left. So if you want to sum up what we've both talked about. So you're a wealth management firm, you're the CIO, CTO. What's your recommendation for them if they're thinking about a new platform or new solution at the firm?
I think if you recognize that you're really behind the 8 ball and you need to make changes, I think you really don't have a lot to lose by coming to us and saying, hey, look, can you take a look at what we have? And
besides coming to us, let's give them 3 takeaways that they could do now on their own.
3 takeaways are, take an inventory of everything you have today and why you're losing business or advisors, and ask and see what it is you're lacking. And then next, I would say assess if you want to make the financial commitment to make change. And the third thing is, if you do the first 2 and you're committed to those 2, then the next thing is, I would say, start to assess what it is you feel you need for your business in order to compete, and in order to grow your business. I think those 3 will kind of position you, to potentially bring your particular platform or services to become more competitive.
There you go. And of course, the best solution is just to call Ezra Group. Go to ezragroup.com, right? And we'll help you. But second best is to follow the instructions we're giving you here. And we're going to have a couple more episodes of this implementation series. And we're going to go into the next steps of, hey, you've already started your RFP. What's the best way to, whether you're ready to start an RFP, what's the best way to put that together, do the planning, implementation of the RFP. And then we'll talk about demoing the vendors. When you selected the vendor, contract negotiation, implementation, planning. We're going to do all that in this series, but now we're all done. That's it. Hi, Felix, thanks for being here.
One last point, Craig. If you're out there and you already begun a bad implementation and you're really struggling, it's never too late to reach out to us.
It's never too late. You heard it here first. It's never too late to reach out to Ezra Group. Felix, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Craig again. Here are my top 3 takeaways from this episode. When you are engaging a consultant like Ezra Group early in your implementation process, you should do it early, either before deciding on a new platform or software that needs to be installed, or slightly after deciding, but before the vendor evaluation process starts. That will get the most value and avoid some unnecessary challenges down the road. Number 2, be wary of vendors trying to put you in a box during the sales process. A good consultant, such as us, can help ensure that selected solution truly fits your firm's unique needs and requirements, rather than just being the proverbial round peg being forced into a square hole. And 3, integration and seamless data flow between systems is critical for providing a cohesive advisor and client experience. So make sure to evaluate the vendor's integration capabilities thoroughly, and the resources at EzraGroup.com will help you. All right. That's it. Thanks for listening. This has been an episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. But before you go, head to our website, EzraGroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you will receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.